Today is the anniversary of an historic event right in La Crosse.
Yeah, back in 1870, massive steamboat War Eagle caught fire and plunged to its underwater grave about a quarter-mile from what's now Riverside Park, claiming 5 lives. News 8's Jenna Traum brings us the story of one man's quest to uncover hundreds of artifacts from that fateful voyage.
Mike and Martha, an Onalaska man spent a decade diving for sunken treasure in the wreckage of the War Eagle. These artifacts have survived a fire, a shipwreck, and more than a century at the bottom of the Black River. And before his death this year, he made a choice to ensure these historic relics would forever belong in the city that became their final resting place. If you've ever walked through Riverside Park, you've passed a piece of La Crosse history. You can't see it, but it's there, 25 feet below the surface of the Black River. The date is May 15, 1870, and the nearly 300-ton steamboat War Eagle, carrying cargo and as many as 300 passengers, was docked when something went terribly wrong. A lantern crashed into a leaky oil barrel.
It started burning shortly after midnight, and within an hour, it was gone. It lit up the sky well, the whole city. It looked like daylight outside.
The War Eagle is our Titanic. It was probably that big a piece of local news when it happened.
Passengers like young socialite Mary Ulrich jumped overboard. She was one of 5 who died that night. Fast forward to 1979, when an Onalaska man heard the ship calling to him from the bottom of the Black River.
I spent 10 summers diving on the War Eagle. It was really exciting finding the artifacts.
After about 300 hours of diving, Dennis Brandt had excavated more than 650 items buried under 5 feet of silt with his bare hands. Everything from the engineer's tools to a beam from the ship's hull to the tiny porcelain hand of a doll.
The old sword that I found, it was pretty badly deteriorated, but I remember finding that on the bow of the boat where it was, in more shallow water.
Of the hundreds of items Brandt discovered, there was just one he returned to the wreckage.
I dumped out that bag of stuff, and here this old skull went rolling across the deck, and I thought, oh my gosh. My wife said that it was like robbing a grave, and I thought, well, it seems kind of like it is.
To find the remains of a poor person who had perished. And I said to him, this really belongs back in its resting place, and he agreed. So he took it back and buried it with the War Eagle and never came across it again.
The rest of the artifacts now have a permanent home. Before Brandt died in 2012, he donated them to the La Crosse County Historical Society, which put them on display in Riverside Museum.
This is a piece of a musical instrument.
For the past few years, Peggy Derrick has been the artifact's caretaker.
They all come with stories. They're part of a story. We want our visitors to know that they're part of that same story. And I think that's the root of it. Is linking it to stories and making the stories alive.
The Sunken Treasure of La Crosse, the story of the War Eagle brought to the surface for future generations. You can see Dennis Brandt's Sunken Treasure for yourself. The Riverside Museum's War Eagle display opens up by reservation tomorrow and Friday. It opens to everyone on Saturday. And for the first time, the La Crosse County Historical Society officially owns the artifacts.
And why did Brandt stop diving on the War Eagle?
Well, with the passage of the Abandoned Shipwreck Act in 1988, it actually became illegal to do what Brandt is doing. Now, technically, divers can still legally dive down there as long as they don't take anything. But that means that the artifacts that Brandt excavated decades ago are likely to be the only artifacts we'll ever have from that shipwreck. Now, if you think this is the first time you've seen the War Eagle, think again. The next time you drive around downtown La Crosse, take a closer look at the street signs. You'll notice there's a little steamboat at the top. It's an image of the War Eagle. You can also check out a mural of the War Eagle here in La Crosse on 2nd Street.